Welcome to Sister Friends Cups and Conversation. I'm your host, Teresa Cooper, and I'm glad you joined me today. We're going to have a conversation about gratitude. Do you feel like gratitude is slowly slipping away from your life? Like you need a renewal of gratitude? Well, we're going to talk about it today. Let's have a conversation. Hello, welcome to Sister Friends Cups and Conversation. I'm your host, Teresa Cooper, and I have with me Miss Catherine.
It's good to be here. So glad to have y'all here with us today.
Yes, it's going to be a great table today. We have some first-timers here around the table with us. We've got Miss Unshell White.
Hi.
Unshell, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Retired Air Force. Also worked in disaster recovery for Hurricane Harvey. So I've been gone for a while, and I'm glad to be back at home.
All right, it's good to have you at the table.
Thank you.
And then we also have Miss Ariel Bustin.
Hi.
Hi,
Good
Ariel.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a millennial, maybe a
I think so.
Zer.
I think
Okay.
there's like different studies, so I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
But I'm 22. Let's see, I love people, I love tea. I'm an artist, I write music, and I love it.
Yes, and you sing.
Yes.
Yes, she has a
I
beautiful
sing.
voice.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Miss Ariel. Thank you, Miss Unshell, for joining us at the table today. We're going to have a rigorous conversation. But before we start, I want to introduce our cup for today. So our special cup for today is coffee and mascara. We're going to be talking about gratitude.
Yes.
And so I want to say that I'm very grateful for coffee and mascara.
Okay.
And so this is our featured cup for today. And coffee and mascara can make everything wonderful.
Yes.
Make your day, start your day off right. If you got a little coffee mascara, I wish it had lip gloss.
Yes.
That would really set it off, some lip gloss. So that's our cup for today. Our sister friends have their Sister Friends logo cup with us today. And so, as I said earlier, we're going to be having a rigorous conversation, and we're going to talk about gratitude. I wanted to talk about gratitude, ladies, because we're living in, strange spaces these days, and the world is just changing before us, and it's changing before us fast. And many of us have experienced a lot of highs and a lot of lows, just a lot of sorrow, and a lot of mourning has been happening over 2020, and then now as we go into 2021. And so I thought it would be really important, Kathy, for us just to talk about gratitude.
Yeah, because right now I think sometimes we don't think about the little things.
Yes.
Especially with the snowstorm we just had. And, we sit in our house, we can't go outside, but think about it. I was thinking like, I didn't have a pipe to burst.
Yes.
My heat stayed on, my light stayed on, because we know that wasn't the fact for Texas and some other places.
Right.
So it brings you back to a sense of gratitude.
Yes. And so I think it's a conversation that would lift people, that would help remind people of what's most important. And so if you just tuned in, this is Sister Friends Cups and Conversation. And at the table, we have some sister friends, and we're just going to talk about being grateful and what gratitude looks like. And I have a saying that the gift that keeps on giving is gratitude.
Yes.
You want to talk about the gift that keeps on giving? That's what gratitude is when you have a grateful spirit and a heart of thanksgiving, it really does give back to you.
Yes.
And it shows up in unexpected places. There's a lady named Mary Davis. She said this. I thought it was really wonderful. It says, "The more grateful I am, the more beauty I see."
love
you
that.
know, and so, you know, grateful and being grateful and having a grateful attitude helps to open up our eyes to the beauty that's around us.
Yes, yes. And then seeing those who, you know, struggle at times, and then even in our own lives, if you go back into your past, it brings you to a sense of gratefulness where God has brought me to today.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not all about things, it's just about being able to breathe.
Yeah.
To have life. You know, the Bible says that He's the reason we live and move and have our being. We're grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely. You know, Miss Ariel, let me ask you, what does gratitude mean to Ariel? What does it mean to you?
To me, it's like worship. Like, I'm recognizing the goodness of God in my life, and I don't have to have a certain amount of things to be grateful. Like, I can be grateful in any season of my life because God's always good. And I feel like a lot of times we have this mindset that's like, once I get this, I'll be grateful, or once I'm here in life, I'll be grateful. But really, I can be grateful right now.
Yes, it's a right now tangible expression. It's a right now tangible. I would call it's a fruit of the spirit.
Yeah,
it really is.
And you know, I look at Ariel as she was talking, and she was smiling the whole time, because you know, right now a lot of people have a sense of entitlement, especially younger people. So what brought you to that place of just gratefulness where you could talk about it and really smile about it?
Man, I've just seen God like direct my steps every step of the way. And even that is just such a blessing and a gift to know that like God directs my steps and that I'm not out here on my own. Like it's such a blessing, and just the people in my life and the fact that I have a purpose and a calling,
that's
like
great.
I'm so grateful for that.
That's
you're making me happy.
Like,
I'm like, oh, right.
I'm just like, God is so sweet to us.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, that's beautiful.
So there's another saying. It says, gratitude turns what we have into enough.
Yes.
And that's really what Ariel is saying. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. And so it doesn't matter what state we're in, we can be grateful. We can find something to be grateful for, or something to be grateful in. So let me ask you, Ms. Unshell, what does gratitude mean to you?
Gratitude, to me, walks hand in hand with being thankful.
Yes.
And it's the gratitude portion of it that propels me into moving. It moves my emotions.
Yeah.
It gives me, you know, when you have that feeling that God is with you. So I can be thankful at the McDonald's window and say thank you for serving me.
Yeah.
But when I've come into areas of my life where someone has done something to me that's close to me, and I have a sense of gratitude toward them, the way it moves me. Yeah. So it moves my spirit. Yeah. And in the spirit, when I say it, just moving the spirit, it gives me a piece of feeling Him.
Yes. Yes.
That overcomes me, where I can, and I'm like, oh God, I'm just so grateful because I know what it could have been.
Right.
But I know what you allowed it to be.
Right.
And I'm grateful that you didn't allow this when I'm so I felt so unworthy. That I didn't receive what I should have gotten.
Right.
And His grace and mercy gave me this, and the sense of gratitude, it can be overwhelming.
Yes.
Sometimes it propels you to do other things.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this, because now if you're just tuned in, we're talking about gratitude at the table, and the need for gratitude and what gratitude looks like. You know, listening to Ariel, you just look at her, she's 22, and you just think, you know, well, yeah, at 22, at 23, you know, you're full of joy and happiness, and it comes easy to be grateful. Some people might think that, you know, but we know that there are 22-year-olds and 21-year-olds that maybe their life is, you know, they don't feel grateful right now, whatever it is that they're dealing with. But just listening to Ariel is just almost like, yes, that's the youthfulness, the joy of youth. It became easier when we hadn't lived that much life yet, you know. So I'm asking you, Unshell, do you feel like you've always been grateful? Or did you stumble on gratefulness? Did life teach you gratefulness? Or do you feel like you've always had a grateful heart, a grateful spirit?
Part of me, because of his love that I've always had for him at a young age, not even knowing the definition of gratefulness, once I found out what the definition was and what it meant, then I can look back on life and go, well, I was grateful.
Okay, yeah.
I was. It was more than just being, Lord, I thank you. No, Lord, I am grateful for what you've done.
Yes.
Wow.
Because experience in life sometimes can leave us doubting.
Yeah.
And leaves us feeling unfulfilled. But then as he allow us to go through some things, and when we come to the other side of that which he's allowing us to go through, then I can look back and be grateful on the path. It didn't always feel good.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't always look good. I'm like, when is the end coming? I just want it to be over with. But then when I sit back, we can be sitting and listening to a sermon, and tears can just come up because I think about what he's done, and I get overwhelmed. I'm so grateful, Father God. I don't even know how to express it to you. It may be in a song. It may be just let me sitting still, waiting to hear from him again. So is it something that taught? I guess it could be.
Yeah. Okay.
If we're teaching them the meaning of it, but it's more as your relationship deepens with him, you find, and it's intentional.
Okay.
So you have to be aware and making sure that you're on the look. See, I look out for ways to be thankful.
Okay, that's.
I look for ways to be
okay.
thankful. You know, sometimes I can, Lord, I think I just stubbed my toe. I know it hurts, but I could have lost my toenail. You know, so you say, that's just so simple.
Look at it, right.
It's that simple.
Okay.
Sometimes we forget to thank him for the small, well, we consider the small things.
But the
in life.
small things are huge things.
The small things are huge things.
So let me ask you, Kathy, do you feel like you've always been...
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, no.
I just have to be honest, because I was like, Lord, did I miss something along the way? No, I haven't always been grateful because I didn't understand gratefulness.
Okay.
I think gratefulness is a life's journey to me. That's what it's been for me. So now that I'm older, I can say I'm more grateful than anything because of the unworthiness as I look back. Lord, I shouldn't have got out of that.
Right.
But I did. And you brought me out. Lord, I should have died in that, but you kept me. Right. And so now that I'm older, the gratefulness is there. But when I was younger, it was just like you just thought God was supposed to do it. Okay. Talking about that entitlement that you feel when you're younger, and you feel like you just can't fall. You're infallible. But now as an adult, I'm more grateful because I go back to the back of my mind until now. And I think, Lord, you have been good.
Yes. Yeah. So let me ask each of you, how do you apply gratitude in your daily life? I
give it back to others.
Okay. Giving it back to others. That's good. Okay.
Because, you know, when you didn't had it, when you have received from the Lord, and now you see somebody struggling with what you've been through, you give that to somebody else.
Okay. Okay. Well, how about you, Miss Ariel?
I really agree with what she said. Like, recently at church, there was a sermon that taught us how gratitude and generosity are connected.
Very so. Yes.
Like, when you're grateful, you tend to give, and people who are ungrateful tend to be stingy with what they have.
That's good.
And it reminds me of even forgiveness. Like, when you know what it means to be forgiven, you're willing to forgive other people.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
So,
how about you?
Being a display of it, showing others.
Yeah.
So to show them, and when you see someone that is not showing it or showing gratitude or being that example and just being able to speak with them.
Yeah.
You know, please and thank you go along with
Absolutely, especially in today's world.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, please and thank you. Absolutely. So let me ask you, ladies, what are some of the pitfalls that people fall into by not having or by not living a life of gratitude?
Poor health.
Okay.
Because you have all this anger and animosity and bitterness that you're storing in the body that causes stress, sleepless nights.
Yeah.
And when you're ungrateful, when you're ungrateful, as you said, not only does it cause that deficiency in your body, but it also allows you to see it in other people. And so when you see that in other people, the pitfalls of it, I think for most people is when you can't see it in yourself.
Yeah. And that would be connected to pride.
That's right.
You know,
that's
some
right.
of the things that probably causes you not to have gratitude would be like what you mentioned about entitlement.
I work for what I got.
Right.
I'm supposed to have this.
Right.
This supposed to happen for me. No, it's supposed to in theory.
Right. But in real life,
yes.
sometimes the good guy doesn't come out on top.
That's right.
Sometimes they come in last.
Yes.
They want to be recognized.
Right.
Yes.
You know, why you didn't recognize me? You recognized her.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
You know, so, you know, the entitlement part, well, I should have got it anyway. I worked for it.
Yeah.
Right.
It was mine all along.
Yeah.
Lord, I thank you for giving it to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, so entitlement, greed, selfishness, ego, and pride. These could be some of the fruits the results of not having gratitude.
That's right. That's
you
right.
know, then people become selfish,
messing with your emotions.
Right.
And those type of people, when you're around those people that aren't grateful, it kind of the people who are grateful, it kind of I'm like, and it's like a negativity.
Yes.
You know, you're like, would you just be quiet?
Just
something good. Hello, good morning. Thank you, Lord. Just something, because it just draws the air out the room. That somebody is just that ungrateful.
Right. That you're actually sucking energy and life out, and you're not giving oxygen and life in. You're not depositing. You're only withdrawing. Taking. Yeah. So gratitude's important.
It's very important
because the opposite of being thankful, the opposite of having gratitude would be to have selfishness, pride, ego, entitlement. And so, if you're watching right now, we're just talking about gratitude and the importance of finding gratitude in our everyday life.
Yeah.
And also feeding our gratitude.
Yes.
What would you guys say? How do you feed your gratitude?
I think feeding your gratitude is like what Bishop always say. You got to go back to that reference point. Even the situation that I am. Like last week, we was sitting and we was watching Texas just be torn apart. Shreveport, Bossier, storm overtaken, and then you sitting there. You got lights on. You got hot water. You got this. So you have to feed, and you got to go back. Even if my lights were off, Lord, I thank you that I can sit in this house and I'm not sick, and I can be with my husband.
Amen.
Right.
Or I'm not on the side of the road with my car with no gas.
Right.
It's just you feed the gratefulness and you go back to your those reference points when God did do it.
Right.
That's feeding the gratitude for me.
Well, let me ask you this. How does gratitude look when life is hitting you fast and it's hitting you furious? It's not just fast, but it's furious. It's just, you're not catching a break. So how do you find gratitude in the middle of what would be chaos?
Ooh, I think you have to check your focus. Like, I know I have to. Like, if life is just hitting me and things just keep happening, it's so easy to focus on that and just get stuck in it and get stuck in my thoughts. And I have to remind myself, and God reminds me to check my focus. Like, what am I really focused on?
Right. Yeah.
And for me, he reminds me of my past.
Okay.
So he takes me back. If I brought you through that, what makes you think I'm not going to bring you through this?
Yeah.
He reminds me of his word that he spoke over me. He reminds me of the word that he's placed in me. So the word comes back. So I'll sit there. They said, to have praise in the midst of confusion.
Yes.
I recently lost my father, and there was just so many things. So many wheels turning at the same time, so many things happening. I came back, I wasn't working, and you got all these things to do. And I'm like, Lord, how can I? He says, you can't. He said, but I can. So he reminds me. And sometimes those are the things that I hold on to.
Yeah.
I hold on to what he's already done.
Yes.
Knowing that he's going to, if you did it then, you're going to take care of it right now. So while I'm waiting for it to be taken care of, while I'm waiting for the process to be completed, I hold on to what he's already done.
Yes.
And for me, that I feed it with praise.
Oh, yes. That's good. Feed it with praise.
That's
Feed it with
awesome.
praise. Yeah.
Do you ever sometimes, ladies, feel guilty in your gratefulness? You have your gratefulness, and then you might see somebody else who's going through a hard time. It don't mean that you ain't never been there.
Right.
But sometimes you like, oh gosh, and then everything is working for you at that moment. And then you could feel guilty in your gratefulness, and not guilty in the way of, Lord, you shouldn't gave this to me. No, you shouldn't have did this. No, it's just sometimes it looks like life is doing so well for me now. Why this person can't get that break? And then you like, oh Lord, I just feel bad about this, and that. And then I can remember then what makes me go back to my gratefulness and stand there, but also having grace and, compassion for those. I had to remember that I was in that place once too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something to think about. I've never felt guilty for my grace or for anything that the Lord has done or blessed me with, mainly because He's always taken me the hard way around.
Oh.
I didn't get the easy route.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so we've always had myself individually, and then my husband, and then us together. We've always had to work our way. We always started with nothing, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It was faith, pure faith. There wasn't like money in the bank and then we did it. It was, there's no money in the bank, and then he says, go do it. And you're like going, what? And he says, go do it and trust me. So once I realized that was my journey, that was how God was going to speak to me, and that's the ingredients that He's given me. It changed
your focus,
my focus from
I get it.
I didn't have time to be worrying about the person down the street or somebody else or what they're doing or not doing, because doing me is taking a lot of work.
That's right.
doing my purpose and living out my purpose and walking out in my obedience is a full-time job.
Full-time job.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did learn is in 1 Thessalonians 5:18. It says, give thanks in all circumstances.
All circumstances.
Yes.
It didn't say some.
That's
It didn't
right.
say when it's good, when it's bad, when the sun is shining, when it's raining. He said in all circumstance, give thanks. And then people wonder, well, what's the will of God for me? What's the will of God for my family? What's the will of God? What is the will of God? I love the scripture because it says, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you, for me, for us. So we're wondering what the will of God is. What's the will of God for my life? Be grateful.
That's right.
Give
Amen.
thanks.
Give thanks.
Yes.
Live a life of gratitude. Because when you live a life of gratitude, it brings people to you. Because people want to be around grateful people, happy.
Yeah.
Gratefulness brings happiness, and it
Yes.
brings joy, and it produces life.
That's
And
right.
people want to be around life. And one of the things I've noticed is that whenever I'm having an episode, because I can say that, yes, I've not always been grateful. You know what I mean? I've had to learn, this is my road. This is my story. This is the forensics of God over my life. And sometimes I've had mornings where I mourned, why me? Why couldn't I have? Or why couldn't this work out this way? But once you get over all of that, because those prolonged states of mourning or depression, they bring you down. They weigh you down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they weigh other people down. And so it was I had to work at saying, okay, it may be this, but over here, I can be grateful because I have shelter, or I have food, or I don't have shelter and I don't have food, but I got a husband or I have children. And, my children may, not be A's plus students, but they learn. You know what I mean? So there's always something that we can find to be grateful,
and
for.
And it's good to have those people that encourage you in the Lord.
Yes.
Because like you said, when you have those times, and I sit up in the bathroom in the morning before I get ready for work, and I say, pray for me, I'm depressed. And my husband lay hands on me, and then he say, what you depressed about? And then I say, cause this. And he say, see, you don't even look at the whole picture. And then he started telling me what I have to be grateful for. And then we're not talking about just material things. You got 7 grandchildren. Your daughter finna have a baby. You finna do this. You gotta just look at the whole picture, Kathy. Like you tell me. And then it lifts that load. Right. But I don't want that friend that if I call you and say, Pastor T, I don't feel good. I'm feeling sorry for myself. Girl, me too, child. I'm telling you, need somebody that's gonna encourage you in the Lord and lift you up and tell you of the goodness of the Lord and why you need to be grateful.
But isn't it funny how people can get angry at you? Yeah. For telling them about the goodness. What's
good about it?
What's good about it? And so it definitely is important to have to know who your people are.
Yes.
But when you were speaking of the bigger picture, not seeing the bigger picture. Sometimes we can't see the bigger picture because we're so busy trying to be in the picture that we need to step back from the picture so that we can see it. So step out from the picture.
That's right.
So that you can see the whole
That's
picture.
right. That's right.
Instead of always trying to be in the picture.
So that will preach.
You know she was ready. She ready to go in.
So let me ask you, Ariel, for your generation, or maybe the people that, college students and people that you may know or just have associates, how do you feel? Do you think that they have a handle on gratitude, or do you think that because they were born in a society where, everything's instant? Yeah. Everything's beautiful. Everything's, if it's not beautiful, you can, Photoshop it. You can fix it.
Oh, that's good.
And so how do you think that skews their definition of maybe what, gratitude is?
Yeah, I think there's 2 sides of it. I think the first side is that, since everything does come with convenience and instant, like you said, like microwavable, everything, we don't have to work very hard. Like a lot of people in my generation, like they try to find success without working and without having work ethic, and that makes you feel entitled to things. On the other side of it, I think my generation is so hungry for truth and for what's real that when they find it, they are incredibly grateful, because there's so much on social media that just puts up this facade of perfection.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you find what's real and when you find the love of God and just real friends, it's like it just stands out from anything we're being fed with,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's another saying, and I actually have this saying over one of the mantles in my house, and it just was, I was drawn to it when I bought it because I'm like, I need to remember this. And it simply says, it's not having what you want, because maybe we all want what we want. You know what I mean? And we're not satisfied till we get it. And then we get it and we realize, well, that didn't really feel. It didn't really feel me like I thought it was going to feel me. It's not having what you want. It's wanting. It's wanting what you got.
That's
wow.
Good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not having what you want. It's wanting what you got. And I think that's the key. Because we all can easily get caught up into that, carrot dangling and the horse, and we're just chasing the horse because he's got the carrot without realizing that it's what we already have that we need to cherish, that we need to nurture, that we need to be grateful for. And then anything else that truly is ours will come to us.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It'll come to us. It won't come to us through bribery or thievery or fakery or, you know what I mean? All the things that we do to try to get things.
Yeah.
We figure it out, scheme it, all those things. but really just wanting what you have, being satisfied. Are you satisfied?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Because I understand what you were saying on that. I recently acquired a house. Oh, I want a home. I want a house. I want my own.
Yeah.
And then I guess, oh my God, it's a lot of responsibilities. I got to fix this and I have to fix that. But do I really want it?
Yeah.
And then God said, yeah, you want it. You know why you want it? I said, okay, Lord. He said, so that your home can be a safe haven.
Wow. Yeah.
That your family can come to. He said, you didn't lose anything during the storm. Snow was all around you. So because my wants, it was seeing things that I asked for manifest itself in time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And being grateful that I remember I did ask you for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and it was the right thing. I was lining myself up because I don't want to receive from you that which is not for me.
Right.
Because it was like, oh, well, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I
Right.
really don't want that. But when you get it, I said, Lord, I asked you for that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
He said, but I gave it to you.
Yeah. Absolutely. So the answer is yes and no.
Yes and no.
And I think that's the perfect way to end this episode because all of us should have a yes and no. Satisfied, yes, at the state that I'm in right now, but unsatisfied because there's still yet more life to live and more for me to accomplish. So thank you for listening to Sister Friends Cups in Conversation. This has been a wonderful table with these wonderful ladies as we've discussed gratitude. Thank you for joining the conversation today. Ariel and Unshell did a wonderful job letting us peek into what gratitude means to them. I pray that your gratitude was renewed. Gratitude is the gift that keeps on giving. Let's together do better at being grateful for the life that we have. Not the life that we wish we had, but the life that we have. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across all of our social media platforms. I want to see you next Wednesday at 12 noon. Sister Friends Cups in Conversation. And don't forget, Something to Sip On is next. This is Something to Sip On, our after show. And what are we sipping on this week, Kathy?
We're going to sip on, since we talked about gratefulness, we're going to talk about, this is my sip on, when eating the fruit, remember who planted the tree. Gratefulness.
Remember who planted the tree, the one that did all the work. Be grateful.
Yes.
Yes, Anshel, what are you sipping on?
I'm going to sip on be intentional to show gratitude.
All right, be intentional to show gratitude. I'm going to say gratitude is a lifestyle and it's the gift that keeps on giving. Ariel, what are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on that I can be grateful right now.
Yes, that's good. I can be grateful right now. Thank you for joining us, Sister Friends Cups.